So, what is the news you missed this weekend? Well, as I can't record videos over the weekend, I just did some ASMR videos that were very lazy. But apparently, Elon Musk issues ultimatum. Germany moves to the right, and Pope Francis is in critical condition. Let's look at the NBC News Weekend Roundup. Elon Musk's ultimatum has federal workers on edge. Divisions were on display within the federal government as workers at multiple departments were instructed not to respond to an email inquiry going against an ultimatum from Elon Musk. I don't think Elon Musk can actually issue ultimatums because, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm still unclear about this, but I'm pretty sure he's not part of the government and therefore can't order any of these government things. He's just, making recommendations, and then the Office of Personnel Management is issuing these things, maybe at the request of Elon Musk or Doge. But he is not personally issuing this ultimatum. The Office of Personnel Management is, and I'm assuming there's a person in the Office of Personnel Management that could say, nah, we're not going to do that, if that's what they wanted to do. Anyway, federal workers received emails Saturday from the Office of Personnel Management asking them to send approximately 5 bullet points listing what they accomplished this week. What'd you do this week? Was it anything important? I don't know. That seems like a reasonable ask for us to be paying your salary for. I mean, I'm paying your salary. My taxes are going to pay your stuff. I think it's reasonable to ask, what am I getting for that? The emails went out hours after Musk posted on X that a failure to respond will be taken as a resignation. Now again, I don't know if this post on X is legally binding because, as far as I know, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Doge is not a government department. It's a third-party office that is making recommendations and counseling. Now, maybe those recommendations and counsels are taken 100 or 99% of the time, but he's not able to really make policy in the traditional sense. But FBI Director Kash Patel instructed employees to pause any responses to the email and said the FBI will review the work of its own employees in accordance with its own procedures. State Department employees were similarly told not to respond. Again, reasonable, because you'd think to yourself, all right, hey, the FBI maybe has ongoing investigations. They don't want to share the things that they're doing. Same with the State Department. They've got ongoing State Department type stuff to do. And if they were to tell people what they were doing, it could potentially jeopardize ongoing investigations, ongoing actions, and therefore they're not doing that. And hey, man, it seems like some people are not doing what Elon Musk said. Well, clearly they're going to be just rounded up and put up against the wall, right? Because Elon Musk is taking over the country. President Donald Trump touted the work Musk and Doge have been doing during his speech Saturday at the Conservative Political Action Conference. Before his remarks, he posted on Truth Social, and I just want to, as an aside, isn't it fun that Truth Social is still a thing? Everyone was like, oh, this thing's going to be just a flash in the pan. This is just a hilarious, troll from Trump that he's making his own social network and it's going to be a thing. And, well, kind of is. Even though it's not really big, it's not really an actual competitor with X or Twitter, but it is just funny that it still exists and people know what it's called. I know there are other alternatives to Twitter and X and these types of things. I don't remember what they're called. I think they're it's Blue Sky, I think, and I feel like there's other ones, but I've never heard of them. Truth Social, people know about it, even though they've never been on it. Hilarious. He posted on Truth Social that Musk should get more aggressive. Hell yeah. Trump and Musk have been floating the idea of sending American taxpayers dividend checks with whatever money Doge saves. Yeah, give us our money back. That'd be sweet. Below-income Americans may not benefit. I mean, I'm assuming there's more of a implicit statement in that, because obviously if low income Americans get a dividends check, and assuming, you know, Americans are going to be getting, just a baseline, hey, we saved $200 billion, and that divided amongst the people is, let's say everybody gets $1,000. My math is wrong, but let's say everybody gets $1,000. $1,000 is, a lot of money for some people and not as much for other people. And the assumption here is that these low income Americans are not going to be able to use that $1,000 as well as the government could to give them benefits, so that, equaling out the amount of, costs and benefits of these things would hurt low income Americans. I'm assuming they didn't make that statement. They just said, hey, maybe that won't happen. Maybe these guys are, maybe it'd be a bad thing for Americans to get money from dividends checks from savings. I mean, that would be, because we can't spin the government saving money and redistributing that money to the people that it was taken from as a bad thing. So maybe some people wouldn't come out good with that, because we don't like this. It's bad. Germany's rightward turn. Chancellor Olaf Scholz and his center-left Social Democratic Party are projected to be on the outs in Germany, with the center-right Christian Democratic Union and leader Friedrich Merz likely to lead coalition talks to form the next government. But perhaps the biggest news out of the election was the strong performance of Alternative for Germany, also known as the AfD, Alternative for Deutschland, I don't know. A far-right political party under surveillance by intelligence services for suspected extremism. The AfD, whose supporters include Elon Musk, I'm sure there's specifics in there, which we will not go into because, they didn't provide them, so I'm sure they're not important, and others in the White House, was projected to finish second. Woof. A shock for many in a country still deeply wary of its Nazi past. However, Merz previously ruled out working with the AfD, vowing to uphold the firewall prohibiting cooperation with the far right. Now, obviously, the conversation here is going to be biased depending on how you view it. The support that people are, voicing towards the AfD are not even necessarily, we agree with their politics, we agree with the things that they espouse. We want them to succeed and run the country and these types of things. It's not that. There's a lot of really shady anti-free speech, anti-liberty actions that are being pushed against this one political party that the people in power don't like. And the J.D. Vance speech specifically is referencing that attack on what we in the West generally view as a fundamental good thing: freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and the ability to express yourself freely without there being criminal consequences. Pope still in critical condition. Pope Francis remained in critical condition as he continued to receive treatment for double pneumonia, yikes, okay, and a mild renal insufficiency. The Vatican said the Pope, 88, had difficulty breathing for several days before being admitted February 14th to Rome's Gemelli Hospital. Doctors later diagnosed him with pneumonia in both, pneumonia in both lungs. The Vatican on Saturday said the Pope suffered a respiratory crisis, but presented no further respiratory crisis the following day. Francis, who was elected Pope in 2013, remains on oxygen therapy. Now, this is actually an interesting story if you're interested in these types of things. How old was the previous Pope when he retired, when he resigned? most people were thinking, oh man, this is going to be great for the Pope. It's going to mean that all popes going forward will resign. Once they get, old and somewhat decrepit and they're not able to keep up with the work, they're going to resign. This is going to be great. This is going to be fantastic. And Pope Francis doesn't seem to be following that pattern. I believe he said on multiple occasions that he believes the Pope is a position for life, which I suppose is the traditional position to take on it. But it does beg the question of should you be upholding that tradition, or is that something that would be better left to the annals of history? Yeah. Or do you want to hold this office until you die in office, like you would if you were, like an American politician or something like that? Zelensky willing to resign for peace in Ukraine. Now, this one is the only one in here that I have not actually heard a bunch of stuff on, so I'm guessing this is the latest. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said he would be willing to resign in exchange for peace in Ukraine or NATO membership, a major concession amidst an ongoing spat with Trump. Now, this is interesting because it kind of depends on how you view Zelensky. I know some people would say Zelensky's was put in like a coup perpetrated by the U.S., the CIA, and I do find that to be a weird conspiracy theory, even if it's true, because it's kind of who cares how he came into power? He's in power now. He's got massive support, even though he did suspend elections and these types of things. Ostensibly, from everything I can see, he's got if there was an election, he would win in an absolute landslide, right? But you do have to ask yourself, hey, why? Yeah, you're going to resign for peace in Ukraine. I'm like, yeah, that seems like a reasonable thing to do. I don't think is anyone asking for him to resign? Or are they just asking him to be like, don't be an obstacle to the peace process? Trump falsely suggested the Ukrainian president was responsible for starting the war, despite Russia launching a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. I would like to see a little bit more detail on that. How did he suggest that the president was the one who started the war? Obviously, again, this depends on your view on this. The Russia-Ukraine conflict, not on the side of Russia here, but I do think it's not entirely crazy to go, hey, your chief rival, NATO, is now encroaching on your borders when they said they would never do that. We think we can get away with it because the U.S. president is weak, so we're going to, launch a military invasion. Obviously, it didn't go the way they wanted it to, but now they've got some leverage. The feud comes as Trump pledged to begin peace talks to end the war, while also saying it's not important for Zelensky to attend negotiations because he's been at meetings for 3 years and nothing got done. On Meet the Press on Sunday, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, Republican of Oklahoma, cast doubt on Zelensky's suggestion that Russia could invade other countries and said the U.S. should only remain a member of NATO if it's in our interest. Yeah, I don't totally disagree with that. The ongoing conversation about American involvement in NATO really does come down to, why are we in there if we're not getting anything out of it? If we're paying for all of this stuff, we're contributing vastly more for European security when European security does not affect America nearly as much. Why should we retain membership? The idea of this alliance is that everybody benefits. And for good or ill, whether you like it or not, the more powerful countries are going to benefit more because they're more able to grab concessions from other nations, as well as they are able to provide more for the alliance. Even if that is, hey, look, everybody's doing 5% of GDP. The richer nations are going to provide more inherently, just by the by. And that's not what they're doing. They're not actually meeting that quota. So why would you continue to remain a member of NATO if you're basically just, throwing good money after bad? It doesn't make sense. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't be in NATO. It's just to say we should get what we, want out of it. We should get what we paid for. And of course, the big story here is, guess what? Trump is, looks like he's going to be ending a war. Kind of a good deal. Israel delays release of Palestinian prisoners, straining ceasefire deal. Israel delayed the release of more than 600 Palestinian prisoners and detainees who were due to be freed Saturday as part of the ceasefire agreement with Hamas. The militant group freed 6 hostages and released the bodies of 4 deceased hostages this week in the final planned exchange under the current phase of ceasefire negotiations. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu cited Hamas's repeated violations, including the cynical exploitation of our hostages for propaganda purposes, as he delayed the reciprocal release of the detainees. I mean, I don't have enough information on this to really comment. To be perfectly honest, I don't know. No clue here. Yeah, no idea. And then on Meet the Press, yeah, I'm not going to do your propaganda. That's cool. And politics in brief, we'll do that. Doge for Ohio, Vivek Ramaswamy, who will declare his candidacy for governor of Ohio on Monday, told NBC News why he decided to step away from Elon Musk's Doge effort. Now, do you think he stepped away or do you think he was fired? I kind of feel like he was fired. Double duty. Trump's newly confirmed FBI Director Kash Patel is expected to take on another top law enforcement role in the administration as head of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. I think the Bureau needs to just get rid of it. There's too many of these. The Bureau, ATF can really just go. They can get yeeted. They do not need to be around. Feeling the heat at town halls, House Republicans are facing sometimes hostile crowds, furious about sweeping budget cuts and mass firings. Okay, good. Write to your congressman. Tell them you don't like this. Or don't. And continue voting the way that you've been voting. All right, that was the weekend roundup. According to NBC News, good luck in all your endeavors. Thank you for your time and attention. And I shall say farewell for now.